Now, an Emeritus Newsbrief, I'm Lynn, Huston. With Democrats in the White House agreeing to a $14 billion auto bailout proposal, the job now is getting it passed in Congress.
The House passed the bill Wednesday night by a vote of 237 to 170.
A White House spokesman laid out some of the conditions of the proposal.
This is a bridge to either fundamental restructuring or bankruptcy. They either have a long-term plan that's viable or we get our money back. And if we call our money back, which is required under this bill, then those firms are not going to be able to survive. That is a real incentive and a real stick for this president's designee to ensure that these stakeholders all across the board make the concessions that are necessary. That was critically important to us, and we achieved that in this agreement. A couple of other sticks. If they fail to achieve a negotiated plan for long-term viability, the president's designee will be required to submit his own. And the language will explicitly state that that can include a plan for reorganization under Chapter 11, which is, again, one of the mechanisms that many people have suggested could be required for these firms to achieve viability and would need to happen if they're not able to achieve viability on their own through voluntary concessions by the various stakeholders.
But Senate Republicans feel it's not enough.
As the leader said, we got this proposal from the White House and Democratic leaders. There are a lot of good ideas for how we can make it better and address some of these concerns. And I hope we get a chance to do that under the procedures laid out by the Majority Leader.
You can see a summary of the proposal on the Emeritus News National World page. Also today, a congressional oversight panel released their first report on the Treasury Department's handling of the bailout money. The panel says that the Treasury Department handed over billions of dollars to banks with no way to make sure that they met government-mandated restrictions, or seeing to it that the money helped consumers, for that matter. Access to the complete report on the Emeritus News National World page. Three major layoff announcements to tell you about. Anheuser-Busch is cutting 1,400 jobs nationally in the beer-related division. More than 1,000 of those jobs at 2 locations in its hometown of St. Louis. The parent company, InBev, is making the cuts to pay down on the $45 billion debt that came from buying Anheuser-Busch. Office Depot finding that taking care of business these days won't take as many stores or workers, so it's closing 112 stores and laying off 2,200 workers. And you know it's tough times when one of the nation's largest online job listing services makes job cuts. CareerBuilder has laid off 300 workers at their Chicago headquarters. The cuts were made based on reduced expectations for new business next year. Also on the Emeritus News homepage, details on the latest study showing the disparity in medical care for female heart attack victims. The latest on the biggest issues and public policy at emeritusnews.com. That's an Emeritus News Brief. I'm Lynn, Huston.